So I have, this is Robert Forsch. I actually have an important announcement. And of course I wanted to show you my card once again. You can contact me anytime if you care to. The world that we live in is different than the world that we're told by the modern scientific community, which is basically a godless religion. That's essentially what it is. It's essentially science fiction, mind control programming that people are inundated with, and it conscripts the communication system of the world from television, internet, movies, videos. What people view as education, entertainment is still programming, including God's Word, which is basically God's programming for God's children. Now, what I wanted to say is that, as well as that, is when I came to visit from South Carolina, and now I'm up in, it was Cherry Grove, South Carolina, and I do a lot of video and photographs from there. And then I come roughly 1,200 miles northeast to the Fox Valley. Neenah, Wisconsin is where I am right at the moment. And what I found out is that the sun was actually visible from this vantage point for more than one additional hour. Not only that, the throw of the light was substantially longer, so hours of daylight, visible working light, was noticeably different. Those of you who've followed some of what I do know that I spend a lot of time sharing God's Word and also showing the beauty and majesty of God's creation. That being said, what I want to say too is I found out something else, is that where the sun appears and vanishes due to perspective of the viewer is not even close to being explained by the heliocentric or the spinning globe model. Many people who believe we went to the moon and believe the NASA is real and all that are unaware that that's a very complex deception. And what I wanted to say about that as well is, with your own evaluation, looking at the empirical evidence, a couple of obvious things. One of them is that undisturbed water is flat, whether it's the lake behind me or the jug that I'm showing you right now. It'll reach a level and it'll be just perfectly flat when it's undisturbed, much like the photos that I show. In addition to that, there are dateandtime.com, different apps that will tell us when the sun appears for a given location and when it vanishes. I can tell you, based on the experience that I have with lens placement, that being so precision that the recent posts that I made of the eagle looking directly at the eye of the camera and your eyes when you're looking at it on the computer, that's happening largely, I believe, because the eagle saw the reflection of the lens in my camera. Okay, so when I move that lens ever so slightly, there's a difference of that reflection and what the observer can see. So when I move that lens over 1,200 miles away, there's a big difference in what can be seen. The duration of visibility of the sun and the moon in relationship to one another changes radically through the different seasons and the phases of the moon. So much so that where the sun appears and vanishes on the horizon varies radically, and the duration of visibility in relationship to one another changes radically, completely showing that they don't change in a uniform manner. Sometimes the sun and the moon are visible for virtually 12 hours in the same 24-hour cycle. And then at different seasons, I've seen the moon for over 14 and the sun for, in the same day, seeing the sun for less than 11. more than a 3-hour difference that can't be explained by a supposed rotation of a globe that has a force that causes water to stick to it. If I take a tennis ball and throw it, it's wet, the water spins off of it. That's what it does. And that's spinning a few miles an hour. So do you really believe there's a force that stops the water that covers the face of the world from spinning off? And that there are people upside down in relationship to me right now, like in Australia? It's absurd. We were told this as children, and it's ridiculous. Okay. The other dynamic that I want to share with you about the visibility of the sun and the moon is also, if you were to track the area where it appears and vanishes, let's say, for example, follow all the sun rises around the world and put that in a program that makes a model of it. Some of you out there can probably do that. So you've established where the sun appears around the world and when, okay? Then where the moon appears. And then the same thing, where and when the moon appears. And then when the sun vanishes and where. So when all those numbers are put together, what you're going to see, I believe, is that it's obviously impossible for a uniform rotation speed of an imaginary Earth that explains what we observe with our eyes and what we can sense with our senses. I feel no motion, no movement, can't find the curve, 8 inches per mile squared, can't be found. And then the other thing too, the fact that what I'm noticing here by my own compass readings, where the sun appears and vanishes in relationship to my viewing it, it's different than it is in South Carolina. And what that essentially means is there's a course, there's a shape, not a straight line. So that's your, if you care to evaluate that and look at it, just see where the sun appears and vanishes, how long it's visible from that vantage point. It'll clearly indicate the impossibility of a uniform rotation speed, and that is that. The water obviously is flat. The horizon is flat, it's level. Okay, so what I'd like to share with you too is the most important aspect of all of this is to hear, share, and obey God's word. What will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? I'm convinced it's only by God's grace that anybody can love and believe the truth, let alone find it. The great news is that all of God's children will be born again. Since I don't know who they all are, I hand out the invitation to everybody and let God and that individual work out the details. Nothing is going to happen in this world, or to me or you, that God doesn't cause or allow. What a great comfort that is. So I'm not afraid to live, die, or tell the truth. Now on my liked videos on my YouTube channel, which is Robert Forsch, my same name, you can evaluate those and know that I won't say that I agree with every word that's spoken and every detail that's shown on the videos. It's designed to be a catalyst for consideration. Keep in mind, even though I broadcast God's Word, the Bible, I believe God's Word is true and all others are suspect. If you have theological concerns, please private message me, concerns with me, and you believe, if you do believe I should see something in a different way, by all means, give me a call, let me know, or private message me. I don't debate on my posts, and I needed to reduce those who can comment on my posts to only friends. I didn't want to have to block people initially. I've just made it so we could stay connected. They could see what I put out there. If they care to, they just can't comment. The activity of Facebook and exchanging ideas, that and or YouTube can be very complicated. The disrespectful comments that sometimes people make because they don't know how to exactly process the information. They just don't like the way it makes them feel to look at the reality that they've been lied to, fooled, and ultimately believe the lie. The irony and paradox of deception is deceived individuals are unaware that they're deceived. They don't know. And they don't know they don't know. So if they've got a $100,000 boat and $100,000 cars and houses in different zip codes and locations in the world and letters around their name, all kinds of credentials, it may just indicate that they've got a lot of financial resources at their beck and call, and they maybe have found a way to generate a substantial amount of money. Unfortunately, that money won't do them any good in the end. Basically, because as Jesus perpetually says to humanity, what will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? So as we look at the 4th of July, Independence Day is celebrated in this country. What I'd like to share with you is that in a contrast to that, I am totally dependent on Christ. I'm free from the system of this world. As I delight myself in the Lord, in all my ways acknowledge Him, what He does is He places a desire in my heart to do what He created me to do. So I enjoy life. I enjoy the life that He's given me, and I want to encourage everybody to hear, share, and of course, obey God's Word for a biblical perspective. And we can share God's Word to the ends of the earth by creating our own content like I'm doing now, or sharing just by adding Bible.com to a comment or an email, a comment face-to-face, Facebook worldwide. There's very creative ways that we can share God's Word. Wearing a Bible.com shirt, in many cases it'll draw people to me or repel them. I'm not in charge of the results. I'm simply in charge, or I'm responsible to do what God created me to do. And that's what you're looking at. Feel free to explore my profile if you like, and also contact me anytime if you care to. Thank you so much for the encouragement that I receive publicly on posts as well as privately through phone calls and messages. For an eternal perspective, hear, share, and of course, obey God's Word. Bible.com.